Okay, so I just got my electricity bill, and it is out of control. Rates are up 80% over the last decade, and blackouts are more and more common. And I'm not the only one experiencing this.
Anybody else's electric bill just ridiculous?
Yeah, look at this.
$1,800 Central Maine power bill.
$236.57 just to deliver my electric? You don't even touch it.
Heads up, Texas, you guys are about to see some crazy-ass electricity bills.
Last year, Americans' utility bills increased more than in any year in recorded history, and the length of power outages more than doubled between 2013 and 2020. Corporate utilities are extorting us for a basic human necessity while providing worse and worse service. It's unsustainable, but it often feels like we have no options. So we set out to find an answer to the question, what can be done about skyrocketing electric bills and terrible service? And in the process, we found a groundbreaking solution in a surprising place. Take notes, because your state could be next.
In 2003, my family and I moved to Jackman. As time went on, it kept getting worse and worse, and the outages were longer and longer until it really started to hit the fan, so to speak.
That's Deke Sawyer, a former pastor in a tiny little town in rural Maine, just south of the Canadian border.
There was this one particular weekend that the power went out that my brother-in-law was here. He has a severe case of sleep apnea and had to have a CPAP machine in order to sleep properly. He stayed awake most of the night until we did finally get the power back on. He said, I didn't dare go to sleep because I've got a severe case. The doctors have warned me that it could be terminal if I don't wake up. That started me to thinking about other people in Jackman and our surrounding area. Up until then, outages were an inconvenience. Now it became a medical issue, and I realized that, we're in a community that's getting older every year.
Maine is the oldest state in the country. Not only are there thousands of people like Deke's brother-in-law who depend on reliable electricity, there are even more living on Social Security or a pension or even just a working class wage who depend on a consistently affordable electricity bill every month to survive.
Jim, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
Thanks for talking to us.
Okay.
Tell me, how much do you pay for your electricity bill these days?
My last bill that came in last week was $250. 4 years ago, it was half of that. It's just my wife and I that live here, and it's not like we have a hot tub and a swimming pool or anything like that. I'm getting to the point where I'm living on fixed income. I'm kind of interested in knowing more about Pine Tree Power.
I was curious too. You see, in November, Mainers will vote on whether to replace the state's two investor-owned utilities, Central Maine Power and Versant, with a consumer-owned utility called Pine Tree Power. So we drove up to Belfast, Maine, to talk to Jonathan Fulford, a carpenter and one of the leaders of the Pine Tree Power campaign.
CMP is the worst in the country among medium and large investor-owned utilities for reliability. Like, they are bottom of the bucket and have been for 4 years running.
In 2022, CMP ranked last in the J.D. Power survey for the fourth year in a row. The survey ranked 76 electric utilities nationwide on quality and reliability, price, billing and payment, and customer service. CMP scored lower than PG&E, the California utility company made infamous for causing some of the biggest wildfires in the state's history. Which begs the question, who exactly is behind this company that is consistently in last place?
So, we have foreign governments having major stakes in the ownership and the decision-making of both of these utilities.
CMP is owned by Avangrid, who is owned by Iberdrola, whose largest shareholder is the Qatar Investment Authority. Versant is owned by ENMAX, which is wholly owned by the city of Calgary.
These investor-owned utilities, they must prioritize profits for shareholders. And because the shareholders are not residents of Maine for the most part, they don't really care about if the service is reliable. They don't really care if it's affordable. They only care, are they extracting as much wealth out of the state of Maine and sending it to their foreign shareholders. And they are very good at that, actually. They generated $187 million in pure profit leaving the state of Maine last year. That's money that we don't have to basically improve the grid, to lower rates, to do anything beneficial for Mainers. Instead, it's just like gone.
The situation Jonathan described is not unique to Maine. People all over the country are paying exorbitant rates to enrich wealthy shareholders of private utilities. But what is unique is the solution Mainers have proposed.
Pine Tree Power is a nonprofit company that will be controlled by the ratepayers here in Maine. It'll be representing directly us, so its priorities will be what's best for us, and no longer will there be money leaving the state of Maine. It'll stay here to make sure you have a better grid, you have better reliable power, and more affordable.
How will Pine Tree Power operate in contrast to CMP and Versant? How will it be governed?
There'll be an elected board that we, the ratepayers, we, the citizens of Maine, get to elect, who are 7 of the 13 board members. All the employees of Versant and CMP, other than the top elite management team, still retain their jobs, their union contracts. They don't lose benefits, pension plans, or anything like that. Those still are intact and in place. You now have a direct say and access to and a transparent process about how decisions are made around how your utilities run.
If you turn on the TV in Maine right now, you are guaranteed to see a commercial scaremongering about Pine Tree Power. The parent companies of CMP and Versant have put more than $27 million into the campaign to oppose Pine Tree Power with ads like these.
And with a cost of $13.5 billion.
$13.5 billion.
$13.5 billion. One way or another, Mainers are going to pay for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely not true. It's not going to be $13.5 billion. That's fantasy. For one thing, there's not a single taxpayer dollar ever at risk. This is not funded through taxpayer dollars.
And how will that be funded?
Revenue-backed bonds is basically the short answer.
Revenue-backed bonds are what we use to fund lots of infrastructure, like highways, airports, and yes, even utilities. Basically, it's a low-interest rate loan that's guaranteed by future revenue from people paying for electricity. Incredibly, Maine will actually save $9 billion over 30 years by buying out CMP and Versant. How? Because these low interest rate loans are so much cheaper than paying for CMP and Versant's exorbitant profits.
If you have a nonprofit consumer-owned utility, there's no profits. All the money that you pay in your rates are going back into service, and that is 100% different kind of business.
One of the key attacks CMP and Versant have levied against Pine Tree Power is that this is a radical, untested idea, but the reality is quite the opposite.
In the United States right now, actually over 25% of our utilities are owned by consumers, either publicly owned or cooperatively owned utilities. Households who get their energy from publicly owned utilities generally pay 12% less.
According to Johanna Boswell, the executive director at the Climate and Community Project, consumer-owned utilities have provided affordable and reliable power in America for nearly 100 years.
And this actually happened in the 1930s. Nebraska, a red state, actually kicked out all the investor-owned utilities owned by the likes of, J.P. Morgan, like some of these robber barons that we know quite well from our history. They replaced it with publicly owned power and rural electric cooperatives, so consumer-owned utilities, and it operates to this day. LA is actually a really good example of a well-run, publicly owned utility that operates in one of the biggest cities in the United States. It really shows the scale at which public power can operate.
And that's another benefit of consumer-owned utilities. They are key to addressing climate change.
When you don't have a profit motive, you can actually handle the problem of the climate crisis. What we need is affordable and reliable service in an increasing amount of storms, droughts, and wildfires. Who do we want in charge of our energy transition? Us or a multinational corporation? Who's going to make better decisions for people on the ground?
Winning won't be easy. Central Maine Power and Versant see Pine Tree Power as an existential threat to their business. And they're right. If the ballot initiative passes in November, Mainers will finally be free from corporate utilities whose only interest is making as much money as possible.
we're a pretty purple state, and people across the spectrum see that this is a way for them to take control over their energy future. And I think that we'll see this not only in blue states, we're gonna see this in a lot of other places as well, and it is going to help working class families. Maine is paving the way for working class families to have affordable, clean energy.
And it could be a model for people across the country who are sick and tired of getting ripped off every month. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one in your feed. And as always, if you have ideas for future stories that we should cover, drop them in the comments below.